Morning students, I am very happy to have you in my second video. I hope that you have understood the first lesson, which was patriotism, that we have studied, and we knew in that lesson that patriotism can be reflected in our day-to-day life by doing simple things, not only making big sacrifices like dying for the country and going jail and doing greatest thing. By doing that only we cannot reflect our patriotism, but Nanaji here made his grandchildren understood that patriotism can be reflected in day-to-day in simple way or in daily life. And then in reading B we have how the little kite learned to fly. That's the question, and this reading we have, and this is reading B, and we have in reading B the title how the little kite learned to fly. And as usual we do that, we learn the words meaning, and then that helps us to understand the lesson well. So I want you to learn the words meaning which are from the lesson. So the first one is nodded. Nodded meaning moved head up and down. Nodded meaning moved head up and down. Now next one is that is an expression of relief. Next one is tranquil. Tranquil meaning peaceful. And number fourth is paper. Paper here, the word paper is used for big kite here. Now number five is stirred. Stirred means inspired. And number six, sight. Sight meaning vision. And number seven, off, O-double-F, meaning is in a direction away from speaker or object. Number 8 is flight, which means the act of flying. Number 9, that is thrilled, which means excited or delighted. Number 10, trembling, meaning shaking with fear. And number 11 is steady. Steady means little by little or gradually. We can also say that slowly. And number 12 is sailed. Sailed meaning flew or moved smoothly. Number 13 is whirling. Whirling meaning move round and round. So these are the words meaning which you have to learn, and that will help you understand the lesson well. Now we are going to start the explanation of this reading. As I already mentioned that in reading B we are going to study how the little kite learned to fly. I want you to learn the poem. This is the poem, and I just want you to go through it once, and if you read it once, that will help you to understand the lesson well. Go through it once, read it once, and then listen to my video, then it will be easy for you to understand. So here we see in the poem that the title of the poem itself is how the little kite learned to fly. So here the poem is about the little kite. So before we go for the poem, I think we must know something about the poem first. So the poem how the little kite learned to fly is this is a beautiful poem, and this is composed by Catherine Pyle. So the poet of this poem is, or the composer of this poem is Catherine Pyle. Now she expresses the feeling of little kite in this poem, and she has personified the kites. It means she has given characters or character of the person to these kites. Now so they are talking in this poem. So we genuinely know, we generally know that no living things can talk with one another, but here in the poem, now the kites, little kite and big kite, they are talking with one another. So why they are talking? It's because the poet of this poem, Catherine Pyle, she has personified, means given the character of the person to this kite, so that they are able to talk in the poem now. And then they are talking in the poem, and the little kite feels that he will fall if he tries to fly up in the sky. So the little kite is frightened, the little kite is nervous. And now here the big kite, you can see in the picture, the big kite is experienced kite. It has flight several times up in the sky. Now the big kite is with its own experience. The big kite is advising the little kite to dare and try to fly up in the sky. Now many kites are flying. If you see in the picture, you can see that only the big kite and little kites are there, but if you read the poem you can find that there are many kites which are flying up in the sky. Now on seeing those kites up in the sky, the little kite get inspired or get excited, and he feels when he is looking at the other kites flying up in the sky, he leaves his fear and begin flying. He tries to fly. He feels a little bit nervous. Why? Because it was the first time that he was trying to fly, so he was a little bit nervous and he was frightened too, means he was feared too. And then in the beginning, obviously it happens with everyone. Whenever anything is begin, slowly we gain confidence, and it happens that whenever we begin any task, anything to do, at first it is hard and difficult for us, but once we gain our confidence, once we start our work, so we become confident and we become punctual, we become confident on doing that, so we have the courage for doing that. Now, so anyhow, the little kite is trying to fly up in the sky, and slowly when the little kite tries to fly up in the sky, he gains confidence and start enjoying the flight. Thus he became successful. Who? The little kite. Means little kite, when he tried, he became successful flying up in the sky. Now the poem contains the impressive message. If you read the poem carefully, you will find that by reading this poem we become inspired by the little kite, and also the other kites which are mentioned in the poem. Now we know about we learned from this poem that any new work, until it is begun, appears quite impossible and frightening. When one dares and tries, anyone who dares and tries to do anything, he successfully does that. Now we see in the poem that the little kite was afraid, and because he had no confidence, he thought that if I try to fly up in the sky, then surely I will fall down. He was feared, he was in trouble, because he thought that he will fall down if he tries to fly up in the sky. Why? Because he had never tried. But when the big kite, with his experience, he inspired or motivated him and asked him to try once, so the little kite tried and he became successful. So thus happens with us too. When we start anything doing, so we at the beginning, at the starting point, it seems very difficult, it seems impossible and frightening, but once we start any work, we successfully fully do that. Now we saw that the little kite gains confidence and became fearless, and while flying up in the sky. So we must learn to dare and try in order to get the confidence and success. Until and unless we will not try to dare and get confidence in ourselves, until we will not believe on ourselves, we will not be able to achieve the success, we will not be able to achieve the task. So I just want to tell you by this poem, and the writer too want to inspire us and motivate us by this poem, and wants to say that anything we do, we must have the confidence, we must have the believe in us, so that when it appears, when in the beginning, when it appears difficult for us, that happens with everyone, that's not quite different for different people, but it is similar for all. Whoever tries to begin any work, that seems difficult in the beginning, but once we try and gain confidence in ourselves, when we believe in ourselves, we become success. So like the little kite, we have to learn that we have to enjoy the flight, we have to dare, and then we will gain the confidence in ourselves and we will be success. Thank you.